Stomp here. Stomp Strong Show, episode 4. I am Stomp. This is Saad. We are continuing our saga. This is Sunday, right on the money, 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
We shoot for about an hour. We're reaching about an hour and 15. I told Saad we should go about 7 hours of podcast, and he's like, I've never watched one. I couldn't imagine anyone watch over an hour. And I go, no, we can get 4 hours in easy.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we got an hour.
Yeah.
So Saad's good with an hour. And today I did some crazy shit I just wanted to bring up. Cool. We're always talking about what we did for fitness. Saad, how many miles you get in with the dogs, you think?
Probably about...
I know school started too.
Yesterday was only about 5 miles, day before 5. But usually it's on the plus side of 10 miles when I walk the 2 dogs.
So you think you did get your 10 in normal? You didn't, no rain or nothing stopped you?
No, because they insist. So like even if it's raining out there,
it doesn't matter.
I've got a raincoat. I just walk them.
And I know you were busy at work. You had schools back up running full time.
Yes.
Kids classes, everything's going.
Right. The government has feels it's safe enough for me to reopen my gym. So we're back to teaching people Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, training, working hard.
Sick.
And like for me, it's just like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Although I run a business, really it's just it's a hobby that I turned into a business because once I retired from the Navy after 33 years, it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do with my time? Because I turned 52 this year. It's like I still need to do something with my time. And so the idea of the business was that I'll just teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with my wife for the rest of my days.
When did you come up with the idea of that? Like, when did you know in your mind you were not thinking about it? Right. Like, but when did you go, I can do this. I know I'm retiring in 5 years. I've been teaching already. Yeah. First off, let me ask you. We'll just go here.
Okay.
How long have you been teaching anyone other than people that came into a class you were at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? When did you step out to go, I can teach somebody on my own?
2010. I first started teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for one of my dearest friends, Chico Santiago, in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and at a gym called Combat Club. And I would teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu there. Me and Chico were like phenomenal training partners. He was also retired Navy senior chief, a true war hero, and one of the toughest men I've ever met in my life.
And where were you at this point in your career as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Like a blue belt, purple belt, black belt?
Yeah, blue belt and purple belt. Like,
so in 2010, you were a blue belt, purple belt?
I was a blue belt, yeah.
Okay.
And
that's only 10 years ago.
Right, because what was happening, in the United States, like today, you come to my school here in San Antonio, and on, I think yesterday, Saturday, I might have had 5 or 6 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts on the mats training. But just, 10, 14 years ago, especially in smaller towns, you were lucky to have a blue belt. I remember my very first school I trained at was in Beaufort, South Carolina, and our lead instructor was a 4-stripe blue belt. And we was thrilled to have him. And we would travel to Georgia every other weekend, about an hour and a half into Georgia, just to train with a brown belt.
Wow.
Where like today, you're like, oh, he's you got black belts all over the place. So it's much more common where jiu-jitsu has grown so much just in the past 10 years. So, like for me to teach at Combat Club, which was a mixed martial arts gym, and we was training MMA fighters, to teach there, it was like, me and Chico, we were both blue and then purple belts. It was like, we was the best game in town. Like, so
you guys made each other iron.
Yeah, and we would go all over the country competing in tournaments because we felt we needed to show that, hey, we are good and we'll go compete against the best no matter where they are. And
did you feel as like an underdog, you and Chico, in the school you
were
in?
Sure, yeah, because
was it
other
a smaller
people,
school?
Well, it was the biggest school in Jacksonville, North Carolina, but it was the only real Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school or MMA school in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And so we were trying to show our students that even though we're a small town school,
you can do it.
We fare well against the bigger schools, even the schools that have black belts teaching their purples and blues.
Sick.
So where today, like Chico is a black belt now. I know he's got like maybe 3 or 4 other black belts that train with him at the combat club. And, you know, he's won major tournaments at black belt just like I have.
Sure.
But it was a grind, and that's how we sort of got started.
You know, man, I spent one day, one evening, last night, with like 6 people from the school.
Right.
And I'm watching them play volleyball, and my arm's down, so I can't do it. But I'm on the side. There's 6 people playing volleyball. They all train with you. I know Tim is 5-6 days a week.
Right.
No matter what.
Sure.
I know he's working, and he told me, and I was talking to him. He just got his purple belt.
Yes.
I asked him on the forum. Or on the group. I go, hey, Tim's get this purple belt. I go, where are we getting wings?
Right.
Where are we going?
Yeah,
He goes, we're getting beers here.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, I'll be there.
Yeah.
So I met up, go there.
Right.
I watch these 6 from a distance. Mm-hmm. These are people that are with each other every day, and they're hanging out on Saturday night, and it's not just those 6.
Sure.
I'm talking to Trey. I'm talking to others that are coming in and out.
Yeah.
As I was out by 10, I'm an old man.
Right.
By 10, I'm like asleep. I bought a plate of wings, ate half of them, put the other half in Tim's hand, and but the idea of how they're addicted.
Right.
I mean, they're talking about it on Saturday. Tim's talking about, like, listen, man, I thought I'm not putting the business out, but they're addicted, dude. He knows he wants to teach somewhere someday. He knows what he wants to do with it. He loves this. He loves this. I mean, this is his shit. So it's interesting. So I'm a 7 class guy that got winged. I can't come in no more. It's over because of Rona. I start hiking. I'm doing other stuff. Now I'm talking to them about this, and I got people hitting me up on my things, talking about, okay, you're on the bike, you're killing it. And people from the class I don't really know, but now we're all becoming one. I'm going to Trey's for massage. If you're in the San Antonio area and need a massage, it's called The Spa. Pretty soon, if you're not military, you might be able to get in, but right now it's just military. You got to be able to get on the base. Ridiculously good massages. A guy named Boz just tore me up, man. I got an hour and a half. He killed it. So I'm starting to incorporate, and I tell, like you, man. I was like, man, if I know you, I'm coming to you. I don't have to go nowhere else.
Right.
If I know Trey, I'm going there. I'm not calling anybody else.
We keep it in our network.
Yeah, exactly. So,
as a matter of fact, Trey called me this morning, which was really cool because he called about 9 in the morning, and he's like, Saad, I need to tell you, I got into an accident on the bike, but I did the forward roll that we had been working on in jiu-jitsu for years, and before the bike hit the ground, I hit the ground and I was on my feet going, and he's describing this whole thing to me. And Trey Wilkins, he's one of my students. He's a purple belt, and he's one of the best, most successful businessmen, small businessmen in San Antonio. He's a very smart man. He works really hard at both his business and in jiu-jitsu, and it was just so cool that he called me this morning and to say, hey, I use one of your techniques, and that always makes my day when a student calls me. It's usually one of my police officers who call me and say, hey, I used one of your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques that you showed me in class, and I was able to use it to subdue a suspect. And it's like, oh, that's really cool that it helped you. And
even Trey being at the school helped me indirectly, because when I started calling, I think I've been here like 7 months. We'll say 7, and we've been talking, say 10. So I called you like 3 months before I even got here. Mm-hmm. And I go, hey man, you ever train with anybody like 450?
Right. And
you're like, oh yeah, dude, we got a guy here that's a purple belt who's he's like 6'6", 6'5". He's easily 425.
Right.
He might be less. He's coming down.
Sure.
He's been coming down.
Yeah, because I think when he started, he was around 450, and I think now he's around 370.
Yeah, so maybe I'm getting the numbers right, but we'll say 370. You say 370,
right?
And you said he started at 450, and I'm like, okay, so he's my size. I'm like, hold on, he's a purple belt?
Yeah.
So this plant's in my head for 3 months, and I go, dude, how's he? I don't even think about how's he a purple belt. I'm thinking he's been doing this forever at 450.
Right.
Doesn't matter how old he is. It means I can do it.
And what's cool is not only did it translate into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for you, but me and Stomp had been talking about whether he could, like ride a bike because of his size, And
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly, yeah.
let's talk to Trey, because Trey
Has a bike.
has been riding a bike, and he rides that bike a lot. I'm like, whatever bike Trey is riding, at 370,
Kona.
you at 300,
He tells me
ride
a
that
Kona,
bike. Yeah.
sick Kona. I look
Right.
it up. I start looking at bikes. I call Trey.
Right.
He's like, my bike ain't big enough.
Right.
I'm gonna go here on this one. He knows what he wants for his
Yeah.
next bike. It's weird.
Sure.
So I'm good at making friends, but it's strange having like 8 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like with Matt, being at the hospital. I talked to him every day for days when he was really, really down. You know what I mean? I've been in the hospital so much,
Sure.
and I had this similar issue once,
Right.
and I was like, okay, I'm calling him.
Cool.
I'm gonna call him a lot. I'm calling him at midnight. I'm up at 2. I'm gonna call him at 2. I know he ain't doing nothing at 2.
Sure.
You're sitting in the hospital. Well, you never sleep in the hospital.
Right.
They're constantly waking you up. So if a phone rings, you're gonna answer it happy as shit. Someone's calling you.
Right.
I know that. I've been in the hospital 10 days before. 2 weeks before. I've probably had 8 long-term hospital stays. At least 5 days. So yeah, I've been in the hospital.
Right.
It sucks.
Sure. Absolutely.
And especially when you're down, because you're always sick in the hospital. A little advice: if you're ever in the hospital, you're not gonna do it well because you're always in the free bird. You're always free birding it. You gotta, when you're in the hospital, little hospital advice. You go, I'm in the best place in the world, and you are.
Sure.
You are literally sick enough to be in a hospital, and you're in America. Now I know we're looting and rioting, and it sucks. And did you hear they looted the Houston Children's Hospital?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, I saw a video of it. It was insane.
Wow.
So I can't go there, but not yet. But okay, so when you're in the hospital, you're in the best place in the world.
Yeah.
That is the perfect place to chill.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you can do. This is the time to be free in your mind. Give it all up.
Mm-hmm.
You got nothing. You're gonna be buck naked, doing weird shit, sticking stuff everywhere. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's all brand new. Everyone stresses out, but you just gotta go. None of this. I'm getting better. Every time I'm in, it's for something crazy.
Right.
So I'm sort of happy to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got a whole team of people that are committed to your health.
7 days in ICU, and I brought like a stack of pizzas to them. Like 3 weeks later.
Right.
Like I got a connection pretty much everywhere in St. Pete.
Sure.
And I worked at the Howie Mafia, Hungry Howie Mafia for 12 years.
Right.
I mean, it's about the same time I was a bouncer. I was a pizza man the whole time.
Right.
And then when I became a teacher, I was able to quit driving pizza. I was a pizza man, bouncer, did all kinds of shit. I collected some money for a while. I mean, a bunch of weird things that are off, but nothing crazy. You know what I mean? Like just making money.
Just for clarification for our audience, when he said the Howie Mafia, Hungry Howie's is
Pizza chain.
It's a franchise pizza chain in Florida. So it's not actually a mafia connection. I don't want to.
When I say the mafia, what I mean is Howie's is cool enough that it's a small enough operation. It's not like Pizza Hut, but it is like a whole couple states. But it's a small enough operation that all the owners know each other.
Sure.
And the owner would change Scott Deering, just the finest boss you could ever have, ever. He changed my schedule for 10 years at college. 3 times a year. If it was needed, he would change my schedule.
That's cool.
If I needed to get off or be somewhere for any project, anytime I needed, school was so important to him. He showed up to my graduation. 10 years later, my boss at Pizza Hut, part-time boss.
Yeah.
I'm his friend. We played paintball and stuff together. We worked together. They don't got to go to your graduation.
No.
And he sent like 20 pizzas to the ICU.
Wow, that's awesome.
When I went down. And the Hungry Howie Mafia means you can't get out of it. Like if you ever need a job, you just go back and be like, right now, if something happened and I couldn't teach, if I was in the burger, I could go make $20 an hour. I was making $15 an hour back in the 90s. I'd go make $20 an hour driving by and be super happy to a degree.
And I like that he was interested in your education, and because one of the things that we talk about in business is some leaders are like, hey, if I invest too much in their training, what if they take that training and then they just leave and go work for somebody else? And of course that's a risk, but the greater risk is if you don't train them and they stay. Now you got somebody that's not. You want to develop your people, so they can help you do bigger and better things.
And if someone's pushing to do something in any aspect of their life, especially someone working for you, if they're willing to share it with you,
Sure.
Especially if you're the boss and they're willing to share it with you, if they're pushing for any aspect in their life, you have to praise them.
Right.
Because so many people get stuck doing what they're used to, or we have this job I got to go to 8 hours a day, and when I come home I got to take care of the kids, and I got to do this and that and this, and it's 8 o'clock, I'm going to sleep, I got to be up at 5. And somewhere in between, they missed the workout, they missed the Bible study, they missed the reading of the book, they missed what was important. So you have to be able to figure it out and get to where you're going with things. It's important for you to be taking care of you as well as business. You got to get it all in there. You got to be better at managing time.
I agree. Because people are giving the most precious commodity we have, which is time. It's time in our life. And, you know, like, I don't know how many hours I have from the day I'm born until the day I die, because the day I die is always an unknown. You know, so we look at the price of something, and if we said, man, like this knife here, you know, from some exotic maker, you know.
Ricky Inlet.
And it's, let's say, I don't know how much it costs, but let's say the price is $300. Well, it's not really that it's $300. The true price for me is how much time in my life did I have to work to earn the money to purchase this?
Sure.
Because that's the true cost. Like, it's time that I can't get back.
Do you do that? Do you graph time in your head real quick?
I do. Now that I'm older, you know, because, you know, like I mentioned, I think earlier, is, you know, I turned 52 in a few months. And I realized that I have lived more years on this earth than I have lived to live.
Yeah.
You know, like the average age
at the technology we have
sure,
now.
right. Because the average age of a male in America is 78. So on average, that's how much we live. We live to 78. Some shorter, some longer. So is it possible?
I'm going 97,
Right.
maybe 103.
Right. You know, is it possible that I could make it to 104? It's done, but then it's also possible that my retirement plan could be winning the lottery. It's happened, but
Sure.
it's just not likely.
Put your heads in the bets too, though.
Yeah. So when I look at like the cost of something, I look at how much time in my life it's going to take from what's really valuable to me. Because like when I retired from the Navy, because I was a naval officer, because I had a certain skill set, a master's degree from Baylor University, I had a lot of job offers, you know, to go work, you know, for different companies,
and you're
or
young.
even working in the government.
You're young too.
But, and then I could have also stayed longer in the Navy, and, you know, continued to move up the ranks. But the cost was my family. And, you know, like my son who's 27, I went through 5 years in a row where I missed his birthday because the Navy had me deployed somewhere in the world doing something that was considered very important. But what was really important is I can't make up those birthdays. I missed 5 of them in a row. Where now, every day I go to work with my wife at our little small business. Do I make as much money as I would if I would have gone worked for, you know, some corporation? No. But the cost of that money, if I'm working for some Fortune 500 company, is I'm taking time away from my family. And if, let's say you're Bill Gates, who either him or Jeff Bezos with Amazon are probably like the richest guys in the world.
That we know of.
Right.
There's some Arab dudes we don't know about.
Maybe, or, and let's say they're on their deathbed, and they say, hey, we'll give you 6 more months of life. How much are you willing to pay for it? They'd give you every dime they had.
Sure.
You know, like, for 6 more months. But leading up to that point, you know, like, they sent me on 6-month, 1-year deployments. You know, like, we give that up, and it's like, well, you know, maybe I'll get the next promotion, but I'm missing all that family time, all that stuff that's really important. You know, because if I'm dying tomorrow and I'm on my deathbed, you know, like, what's really important to me is the people I would want in that room.
Yeah, you want,
you know,
all them
I
people
want
and the
my
dogs and the daughter
my
and their
wife Sway,
son.
my son Salam, my daughter Samara.
Yes.
Of course, I'd want my 2 dogs,
Course,
Baylor and Panda.
Course, yeah.
You know, but if in my mind on my deathbed, if if it's a person that I wouldn't care if they was in the room or not, or don't want in the room. Like I would only want so many people. Matter of fact, those 4 people. You know, like my wife, my son,
you know
my
exactly
daughter.
who it is.
That's who I want.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I want to. At this point in my life, I realize I need to spend less time trying to impress the Joneses or keep up with the Johnsons, and more time with what's truly important to me, which is being with my wife and my 2 kids. That's what's important. And so I'm not willing to trade much time away from them for $1 or
I have a couple examples of this. A couple examples of the same thing you're saying. One, my friend Jim Mancuso, really smart lawyer from St. Pete, friend of mine. He tells me once, he goes, do you work to live or live to work?
Good point. Yeah.
He goes, this is the question you got to always be asking yourself when you're. And you were talking about managing your time, so this is him having to not work so hard.
Right.
So he has to come back because he's a lawyer. He can never not work enough.
Right.
He can never put in enough time. So now he has to learn how to pull back. And then I'll tell you a story about me with teaching. Mm-hmm. So this is interesting. So I've never not had a job since I'm 14, and really 12. It's really like 11 or 12. We got permission to use the lawnmowers, and me and my buddy had 15 yards, Chris Normark, instantly, and we were banking. So from 12 to 15, I did yards, and then he moved to Tarpon Springs, or whenever he moved, it slowed down, and I started working for a veterinarian. And then from the time I worked at the veterinarian, I don't remember not having a job unless I was having surgeries or something in the hospital. Like now, with my feet. I don't have a job now. For the last 3 months, I had a hole in my foot, couldn't walk, crutches, all that stuff. Not even 3 months, it's been like 6 months, but it took me like 4 months to heal or whatever. So I work all the time. So I get the teaching job, and there's 3 months off in the summer, and I start slinging pizzas at the carnival, at the flea market, and I start doing this and whatever. I'm banking, making some pretty good money, and then I start. I don't sign up to be a summer teacher yet, but then I sign up to do summer school. But to do summer school, I got to drive 2 hours to work 3. Doesn't make no sense. So I go to work. I start working in summer schools. So I used to work at like the flea market just on the weekend, and then I start working like 3 days to drive 3 hours to drive 2. Not making no real money on the check, and I get written up for like the second time ever in my life for getting into it with a kid that I had been dealing with forever. And everyone deals with this kid, and these are the hardest kids, as far as like, when I mean the hardest, I mean they're like the most diligent to what they want. They're very, very proactive to their agenda, and getting attention is their agenda. Mm-hmm. So they learn how to do bad things, and they don't care about it. They get the attention they don't have, and this is a normal behavior for them. So,
and just for clarification, because some people may not realize that you're not just a regular public school teacher at the high school. You're assigned a special class of kids at the alternative high school.
Yeah, this is a center where
specialty is.
Yeah, they come for behavior problems. Like, it's always something violent for the most part. Sometimes we'll have them like they'll be like severely autistic, but they're 6'4", 350. They think they're a cop, and they'll beat everyone down because the autism. They think they're a cop, right? So the violence gets them at our place as opposed to being at a center. And I have incredible stories about these guys where they make turnarounds and we don't have the violence no more, and then they get to go to a center that's appropriate for the autism, and then they flourish. And so these centers that I work at are full of specialists. They're full of people that are highly used to crazy, like weird situations. Like, it happens all the time. So you got to be on your feet. You got to have your lesson plan ready. You got to have a good lesson. Most of them cannot read to any certain degree. Most of them cannot write to any certain degree. You're doing a lot of modifications of lessons. You're doing a lot of finding how kids learn, and you're specifying it to them, right? So trying to get back to the work thing. We can talk about teaching any day of the week.
Right.
So I get written up. Mm-hmm. I'm looking all wild and stuff, but I've been written up 2 times ever in 14 years.
Right.
So this is one of them. This is like 9 years ago. One of them was like 13 years ago, and one's like 9 years ago. So I get written up and I go home and I'm like, man, next year comes up, summertime. Hey, you want to be a summer school teacher? Nope.
Right.
And I take the summer off and I go to the beach.
Right.
Like twice a week. I'm broke. But I stretch my paycheck from 10 to 12 months anyways in the beginning when I started teaching. So I get paid the whole time, same thing. I'm not making no extra money. I'm broke, but I'm not. I just stay at the beach. Now I'm at the beach like 3 days a week for 2.5 months. And then you go back to training. And then people are looking at you. You're bronze, you know, I'm looking like moose. You know,
Nice.
What were you doing? Oh, dude, I just went snorkel. You know how I get into stuff? I would snorkel for hours and find shells and then put them back. Like, the whole game was what's the coolest thing I could find and not show nobody. One time I found a conch like this big, dude, in Paso Beach. There's like 60 people around me. I'm holding this monster conch, like at least 5 pounds of meat, a monster.
Right.
And I'm like, just put it back. Don't even tell nobody.
Yeah.
Because someone would have yoked it up or messed with it or done something to it. And this is my buddy. I'm hoping to see him next week. Right? I'm going to be here next week.
Right.
I'm going to be here. I'm hoping to see him again.
Right.
Right? I'm going to be here. This is my beach. Pretty sure I got hit bumped by a shark a couple times. I used to snorkel enough. I'd go in between the 2 sandbars and go out like 7 foot deep, and I would like porpoise dive to the bottom and find shells in the sandbar between because we were there drop off. It's a monster shell finder, man. So this is my summer now for the last 9 years. Who gives a fuck about money?
Yeah.
Who cares about money?
Right.
I got 7 years of hitting the beach at least 6 times a summer. At least 6 times a summer. Sometimes 10. Sometimes my teacher friends are working the whole time, sending pictures of my feet, big old fat ankle at the beach, laughing.
Yeah.
They know where I'm at.
Sure. That's awesome.
I know where they're at. They know, you know. So didn't they say teachers do it because they don't have to work? They don't have to work. They get 3 months off. Well, dude, yeah, we do, but if you don't,
but you don't get paid for those 3 months.
No, you don't get paid for those 3 months. You got to stretch your money out from 10 to 12 months. You get the 2 months off. You get a break at Christmas. You better give us a break at Christmas. The kids are crazy.
Right.
We get a break in the summertime. That's for harvest. At some point, that doesn't even make sense to me.
Right.
I don't even understand it. It's like just bring summer quicker. I mean, let's just get this over faster. Give me more time at the beach. You know what I mean? It's whatever. So this is a teacher's feelings, right? So
sure.
Money's not important, man. When I go to work as a teacher, I don't care if I drive 2 hours. I drove 2 hours, 14 years to be at that place that nobody can work at.
Right.
Because it was never going to work.
And if you made more money, you'd be like, well, what do you want to do with it? Oh, I'd love to vacation at the beach.
You know what I'm doing?
But you vacation at the beach
ammo.
anyways.
I'm buying more ammo, more AKs. Probably try to push the business more.
Yeah.
Have some crazy idea. I'm working with a friend somewhere. Always got some idea I'm working.
Right.
That's what I would do with more money. I would just try and do more. At some point, I'm looking at this whole thing going, how do I do this? I got ideas of what I'm doing in 2 or 3 years, different than teaching already. Yeah. And it's based on this. It's based on people understanding the Stomp Strong message. That just we want to bring people up. It doesn't mean it's always an easy conversation.
Right.
Stomp Strong has nothing to do with winning necessarily. And my motto, right? Let me explain Stomp Strong.
Sure.
Stomp Strong is being in the hospital for your feet being rebuilt and getting up and walking and just getting up no matter what. Being an alcoholic for 25 years and ICU for 7 days, my heart stopped when I didn't decide to quit drinking. I had pancreatitis. I fell off my porch at work. It was insane. So not one day was I going to quit drinking before that. I hadn't had it in like almost 8 years coming up in September. That's my number one motive in life, period, over everything. Do not drink. Right. There's no weight loss without drinking. There's no Beth without drinking. There's no life without drinking. There's no sanity without drinking. I'm not even a super religious dude. I'm getting more and more and more. Ever since my mom died for some reason. We'll talk about that sometime. But I'm getting more and more, not religious, but not even spiritual, I'll say. I just know there's a God now. Right. How's that? I'll say I know there's a God. I don't know who he is. He ain't probably who you think he is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know something's watching me. Maybe we'll call up my mom. How's that?
That could be.
We'll just say there's an angel. Some real crazy shit's happened. I've been able to drop 150 in the last 19 months.
That's
I
amazing.
haven't even eaten yet today. I'm not even thinking about it yet. It's 5:30. I'm doing a 1 meal a day.
Right. And you already worked out today.
Dude, I worked out hard
Yeah.
today. I went down hills. Okay, I'm going to tell you what I ate yesterday. I bought 35 wings.
Right.
35 wings don't last long when you throw them down on the table in front of 7 jiu-jitsu guys.
Right.
I got like 12 wings.
Sure.
They were gone.
Right.
I'm like, dude, it was...
Sure.
I knew half was going to Tim.
Right.
Tim's table got half.
Because what's funny about
Tim's a
athletes
monster.
and jiu-jitsu guys, like those guys that I really wanted to join you last night, but I had a prior commitment with some other friends. But those guys, like yesterday at 1 o'clock, they were sparring hard. I mean, you got all these black belts in there, brown belts, purple belts, big guys, small guys, athletic guys. And when we spar, man, like we're going at it. And like I have no idea how many calories you burn when you spar in jiu-jitsu, but it's grappling going 100%. And because even when you're dead tired and a guy is on top of you and he's trying to choke you or get a joint lock, you're gonna keep fighting because, your ego's at play. It's like, nah, I don't want to let Trey beat me today, or I don't want to let Tim beat me today.
I had exactly 45 seconds of this grappling one time at the end of the 7th class when Trey came in, and I was like, I'm gonna do it today.
Sure.
And that was the last class we did. I'm just saying, break up. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so after they worked out like that, they all went to the
Then they went and played volleyball.
Yeah, they played volleyball. They ate wings, and once your metabolism gets up, and you work out so hard, it's like, oh, I bet they ate a lot of wings.
I'm telling you, man,
they may have drank a few beers. Like that's all good.
I the last thing I said to him was, all right, so I had to stop drinking like 8 years ago.
Right.
I'm in the shirts area. If anyone needs a ride, I'm usually
cool.
up till about 2-3 in the morning.
Right.
Most nights.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of like within like 5-10 miles, you can give me a call. I'll come get you.
Yeah.
But that's my job as a guy that was an alcoholic forever.
Right.
You got to promote the idea that there's a problem with drinking.
Right.
If you need a help and maybe have a problem with drinking, I will pick your ass up.
That's awesome.
And see, this is what I'm saying, inadvertently, right? And I'm paying attention to it. So now I'm coming across like, hey, we got the wings last time. At the end of the day, JB brought a cake. It was, I don't know why he brought a cake.
It was the last day before we closed for the pandemic because we had announced.
Because we knew we were going to close.
Because the CDC had said, and this was like maybe March 16th, 17th, it said, hey, we recommend all businesses close for 15 days to try to flatten the curve, so the hospitals aren't overflowed. So I had announced that we was going to close until April 1st. And so JB, who has only been training with us for a short time, he showed up with a cake. Like, hey, we're going to miss it for 2 weeks, but
he goes, hey, Stomp,
let's remember this.
He goes, hey, Stomp, every time there's a break in action with the boys at work and we know we're going to go away for a couple weeks, so I usually get a cake.
Nice.
He's like, I guess he was like a sergeant or something.
Yeah, he was a combat veteran in both the Marine Corps and the Army.
He was in charge of people long enough that he knew that he had to come with a cake when everyone was leaving.
And then he did what a lot of veterans do who come out of the service and, they don't really feel like they fit into society in some ways. So he just went and lived in the Philippines and in Thailand for years.
2003
and just recently, came back to the States. But he came back to the States, he started training with us, and it's like, oh, we're going to shut down for a few weeks in quarantine, although it turned out to be a couple months. And, the dude brings a cake. It's like, man, like...
Yeah, he's like, hey, man, we got time to swing by and get a cake. I'm like, dude, we're going to class, man. We're talking about a cake.
And we ate that darn thing, too.
Yeah, they smashed it. Well, I'm sure it couldn't last long.
Right.
You know what's cool about the classes? I go there, and let me give you a typical Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class structure, because it's so intimidating. It's so intimidating. You might not think it is, because
I've been doing it for a long time.
You've been doing it. But as a 6'4", 450-pound dude that was a bouncer for 12 years and thinks he can do pretty good in a fight, I was scared to do it for years. Right. And it wasn't it was not the physicality as much as I didn't want to hurt nobody. I was 450. I don't know what I'm doing. You're gonna be on top of people, and I'm sort of weak. This is like a whole entire play for ego kill. Self-confidence annihilation. You mix what you think might happen with what you kind of think might happen with what maybe could have sort of might happen, and yeah, you know nothing about this or what's gonna happen, and you talk yourself out of it for years.
Sure.
You go to the class, you look it from the side window. I've gone at least like this, like 4 times at classes and looked through the window, and they're doing the drills, and I know I can't do none of the drills. So I'm going, how do I do these drills? I'm 450. This ain't happening. Right. So this is like in St. Pete. I do this a few times, and I talked to a guy named Gabe there, and I was too big in my mind to do it. And then I got in the wreck, and then I talked to you like 2 years later, and finally get to class.
Right.
And I'm looking at the drill, and I try the drills just like I think I need to. And I rip the toes off the bottom of my feet. Straight up. I ripped the pads off my feet. I shrimped the whole way across the thing. My feet have never done it before. I pulled one little pad off and bled everywhere.
Sure.
And now I'm looking like a fucking idiot. The first day of class, I'm bleeding everywhere. So I don't know who came up behind me with the mop. They started cleaning up behind me. Like straight. This has happened before.
Right.
Someone knew the drill.
Because it's not new. It's, like it was new for you.
New for me.
Because it takes a while for the skin on your feet and your hands and elbows to get used, or your head to get used to rubbing across these mats. And, until you sort of toughen that up, it's like you bleed. And, like nowadays, like I never or rarely ever, getting kind of, burn cut. But
you're kind of used to it.
Years of my skin. But when you first come in, so that's why everybody reacted like so cool, like, oh yeah.
Hey, no, yeah, it was nothing.
Yeah, you bled a lot, just from, basically it's like, if you've never been on jiu-jitsu mats or
that's gonna happen.
It's like, if you go across the carpet really fast and slide past it, you get sort of a carpet burn. And if you go hard enough, it'll start to bleed.
So he walks up to me, I'm bleeding, I stand up, I'm all whatever. Sway comes out, she's his wife, she's a nurse, black belt, instructor. She's got a Band-Aid, foot's cleaned up, Band-Aid, tapes my foot, puts a sock on me. I think I borrowed her sock. No, I grabbed my sock.
Right, I think you had
I grabbed my sock, put the sock on, we go back to class. Right. So I goes, hey, Stomp, you don't have to do none of the drills, right? Just, sit here and stretch or something. Whatever, don't worry about the drills so much, right? We'll get to the drills. And I'm like, oh, well, that just got real simple.
Sure, because
I'm thinking, okay, I'm scared of this for like 6 years.
Yeah.
It's like 6 years. I'm worried about going in because I can't do the drills. I know I can't do them.
Right.
I'm going to go in there and fuck off everyone's time. I'm going to get in there and get on top of somebody. I won't even be able to get to my knees and off them. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about like, but then Trey's bigger than me.
Right.
All right.
And
Tim's huge.
He might be, he's like 6'3", 6'4".
He's taller than me.
But he might be 230, 240 now. But when he started with me, he was 300 pounds.
Yeah, he's what I want to look like.
Tim is a former...
Tim is what I want to look like.
He was a U.S. Marine. He got out. Now he works for the government. And
straight
he came in, he was overweight, a little out of shape. And, he burnt the weight off. Now he's in phenomenal shape.
He's sick shape. Playing volleyball Saturdays. Got his purple belt this week. Congratulations, Tim.
I promoted him Saturday. And,
how'd that feel?
Oh, great. Because Tim, and, hopefully he don't watch this because I don't want him to get a big head. But, he's the best student I've ever had from white belt to purple belt.
You told me that once. I just didn't want to say it.
Right. Yeah. Like
I didn't want to say that.
When I show Tim something, like he's on it. Like he makes the adjustments. Where like other people, I'll be like, hey, if you put your hand there, they're just gonna take your back and they're gonna choke you. And they'll be like, oh, okay, I got it. And then they'll keep putting their hand there and they'll keep getting their back taken and keep getting choked. But when I tell Tim that, he's like, well, where should I put my hand? I'm like, you should put your hand here.
He's extremely
good. He
good.
immediately does that. And he makes that change and he accepts it. And
for such a big, scary guy, you put me with him every time.
Sure.
and he's huge, and he explains everything.
Right.
And then if you ask him to put a little snap on it, he'll just grip you a little bit and show you what it would be.
Right.
And that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know where it's going.
Right.
I want to figure out where, so how does this Kimura end?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, okay, we're just going to do this a little bit slow.
Right.
And then I'm going to grab it.
Sure.
And but I'm not going to go with it.
Right.
And then he'll snitch, and he's so strong, dude. It's like, you're not doing nothing to this dude. I mean, he's a monster.
Oh, he's a tremendous student.
He's a monster.
And that's
he's a
how I
he's a
pair
teacher.
people up. Like, I didn't just pair you up with Tim because Tim, was one of my bigger guys. I paired you up with him because Tim is one of my more patient people, who's a real student of the game, who will teach you something.
Yeah, he's very good at that.
I always pair up for drilling techniques inexperienced people with experienced people. Because otherwise what you'd get is the two brown belts or the two black belts working together in the corner on the new technique, and then you get two white belts on their first day just fumbling through it, not having any idea what's going on. And it's like, no, I'm going to pull.
And they know later, here's what's
Right.
cool about the class. So we learn like two things, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 drills, 2 practices a day,
Yeah.
2 drills, like 2 things. Most of the time they back what we did the day before, and they kind of roll. And there's a lot of discussion about why we're doing this and background stories. And so we're learning 2 things a day. So you do a warm-up, 2 things a day, and everyone's fighting to get to the end.
Sure.
And then some people start staggering in late. I think Jose, right? Jose's always late.
Sure.
He never.
Anthony is always late.
So you got the guys
His first name's Jose, but we all call him Anthony.
So Anthony
name.
comes in when he comes in, and
Sure.
then so at a certain point you can almost feel the energy getting when they're starting to get like lively at the end, like
Right.
10 minutes before the end, and then they roll.
Yeah.
And that's when the 2 black belts get together, the 2 brown belts, or the purple belt wants to take on the blue belt or whatever.
Sure.
And in this I've watched as me and you talk and chat. I've never done this part, right? This is simulated who can kill who until someone taps nicely.
Right.
But they're really rolling.
Sure.
This is the real part of class that they are waiting to get to. We're learning the thing, and then we're going to incorporate it. And I don't know how long that goes. I always leave after about 20 minutes. I think it goes on maybe like 40 minutes, half hour.
Anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour, where they just, and in jiu-jitsu we call it rolling, but in any other art they pretty much just call it sparring, because that's what it is. We're sparring with each other, and so they're incorporating all their techniques and their strategies, because there's, I guess what really intrigues me about Brazilian jiu-jitsu and makes me keep going is it's such a chess match. It's not just I know this technique and you don't know it, or you just aren't going to be able to defend against it, and I'm going to execute it. It's like I'm going to have to deceive you with something. Like, matter of fact, Tim. Yeah. Speaking of Tim. So he deceived me Saturday, and I thought he was trying to triangle me. If you're a jiu-jitsu guy, you'll understand this. If you're not a jiu-jitsu guy, one day you'll figure it out. I thought he was trying to triangle me, so I went to defend the triangle, and he very smoothly, just went right to a submission that's called the omoplata, and it worked for him. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I fell for your deception. Because I totally bought into the triangle.
Did he bait you? He bait you with the triangle?
Yeah, because it looked like everything about the whole setup. He was trying to triangle me.
You're not respecting Tim's skills.
Apparently I did not.
I think you need to sit back a little bit and maybe concentrate on this.
Because that's what I love about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is it didn't matter that Tim was a purple belt and I was a black belt. What matters, it don't even matter you as a white belt and me as a black belt. If you lock a technique in on me, and whether it's me, whether it's Hoist Gracie, it doesn't matter. If you lock it in and you fully have that technique locked in, they're either going to tap or they're going to take a nap or their bones going to snap.
Something's going to hurt.
Yeah, like if it's a choke, you're going to take a nap if you don't tap. If it's a joint lock, you're going to take a break if you don't tap. And your training partners aren't going to break you. Like their job is just to make you better and let you know. They take you to the point where it's like, hey, bro, you are in terrible trouble. And then you tap because you acknowledge the technique works. In class we don't get broken. And
no one's trying
we don't go to sleep.
But they're definitely going.
It can go there, and so you're learning these techniques. And if you do the technique right, and you apply it, it doesn't matter the skill level. If you are able to deceive them and lock it fully in, there's no like get out of jail free pass. It's like, no, dude,
Sure.
I have to tap
That's
and
the
acknowledge
pass out.
that this technique works, and you set it up perfectly. So it was a chess match. Sort of like if you said, well, I'm just going to take your queen. Like you would move around and be like, no. But then like maybe it looked like you was going to take their bishop, and you didn't want to lose your bishop, and you move it and didn't realize that they was checkmating you.
Sure.
Like you thought, oh, like he's going after my bishop, but really he got your queen, or he put you in a checkmate position, and you're like, dang it, I never saw it coming until it happened.
Right.
And
And sometimes you're in chess. Here's what I'm as a chess player.
Sure.
I'm going to try to give you that analogy, but say it from the other guy's spot. So, I think I'm trying to take the bishop, or I'm protecting the bishop, whatever. You just not even thinking the king's vulnerable. So you're in a mindset where you're protecting something else, or you're being hyper aggressive because you think you're taking something else.
Right.
So you think you're winning, and you're stretching yourself out too far. And a common move in chess is if you do not move your king out from the back, you will eventually get isolated. I'm going to teach you how to play chess in like 10 seconds.
Sure.
Chessboard is like a checkerboard. You look at it like grids. You can see the grids this way and this way easy. Now you look at the checkerboard and you see it diagonally. You can see the grids.
Right.
So now we have a parallel and a diagonal. That's the only way these things can move, right? The pieces can only move in that grid.
Yeah.
Well, if you pin your king behind the line, he can't come past that line.
Right.
You cut that grid off, you win the game. So if you cut it off this corner, it's all about pinning the king.
Right.
Doesn't matter what you're pinning them on. If the other pieces are in the way, that's the wall.
Right.
So you're just gridding off the board where the king is. And I suspect it's the same thing. You want someone to go for your foot. You want to give him a knee,
right,
so you can come up behind him and do whatever. I don't know, man. I've been in 7 classes.
Sure.
I don't know. I can't equate it to be today, but I can tell you how to dominate people at chess.
Right.
I look at chess like a matrix board almost. It's like, it's not chess. It's lanes.
Right.
Same way I look at paintball. Dude, you won't believe it. From 19 to 23, I was so good at paintball, I was almost on a professional team.
Right.
I could see the lanes.
Right.
I worked at the field every weekend.
Right.
I got really good at seeing lanes, shooting lanes, where I can walk, where they can see, where I can't see. It's really interesting. So I think my mind works like that. I see things in grids almost to a degree. Like I see patterns. So maybe that's why everything is so perfect on the wall, right? I know when one's off just by, it's like for an ADD person to have pegboard all around them is great. Yeah. You can put whatever you want, wherever you want. Especially if you're like a guy that likes to display stuff. I put this every house we go to is the same thing. Pegboard every room.
Yeah, because you guys can't see it necessarily on the screen. Of course, you see this amazing display of weapons behind us, but also it's in front of us. The whole room, all 4 walls, it either has a knife, an axe, a pistol, a rifle.
Yeah, this is a store. On this front wall is all my stuff. One day we'll show it to you. This is all my personal stuff and a few knives from the past. There's like 3 knives that aren't custom in here. Right. And then everything else is custom. And everything back here is the store. This is the small wall, the large wall, and the medium wall. So what I do is I represent, like, maybe we'll say the numbers are always fluctuating. So we'll say 20, 25 makers. And somebody wants something. Like I called today for a scimitar, and I called 3 makers today for a scimitar. Very hard thing to make. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this done. I'm trying. And another guy for Inglorious Bastards knife from Art Maldonado. Huh. Nice. So people call me, and then I call the maker. I put him in touch with the buyer, and then when the whole entire transaction is done and the buyer and the maker are both happy, the maker sends me 20% of the sale. Nice. So I get a commission. Right. If it's on the wall, I got it for 30% off, so I can ship it.
Mm.
So the way I get in with these makers is I buy some of their stuff and I show support and I pay their water bill for years, and I have 5 or 6 knives sometimes from a guy to sell. Maybe I have a couple $1,500 and not like a bunch of knives from a guy to sell. These are all from Ricky Idlet.
Nice.
Just showing you, just these are available. And it's very hard for me to keep up on the website. I'm not very tech savvy, I'm just being honest. It's easier to message me and just talk. I do video conferencing for every sale. I don't like to have anybody just buying something online, really.
Yeah.
The website's there and you can. You can go buy whatever you want.
Right.
But I'm going to find you before I mail it. And I'm going to if we're going to do a video chat where you sign off on what this looks like.
Sure.
So you're totally happy with this.
Right.
Because after it's out of my hands, you're going to be dealing with the maker. And sometimes I don't have the makers around. Sometimes it's a guy that only made this knife and I got it for a price and I'm not exactly sure who made it. So we have to make sure that everyone's happy, and then I go through like a maintenance and care, and a typical consultation will take at least an hour. At least. Now if you come here, plan on 2. If you really want to see knives, you can't see the whole store in an hour.
Right.
You can't sit here and look at the knife and find out what you want to see on them in time. There's 100 things for sale in here.
Right.
At all times, I try to keep at least 75, 100. I'm trying to back it down to 50 to 75 because you saw my gun show or my knife shows.
Yeah.
It's oversaturated. I'm like 3 tables deep. I got to make an L. There's so much stuff. It's hard to maintain for one set of eyes.
Right.
So it's a lot. So I need to back it down a little bit. So inventory comes and goes, and it's a side business. I have a little bit about me. I've been a teacher 14 years. I've been doing this for. Beth got me my first custom about 5 years ago. We spent a year and a half building inventory. I put about $3,000 to $1,000 a month in inventory for about a year and a half. She spent about that year and a half building the website. It's Beth's first website.
Nice.
She built it from scratch. She didn't like go get one of the website things and just go put it in. She wanted to learn how to do it. It turned into a real project. And man, I rep a bunch of guys, and you came a rookie. You came in here, and we didn't know each other for Adam, and we had dinner once and saw the brass knuckles. And sometimes people just get like, wow, it's a very odd store.
Sure.
It's a very odd store.
And it's like, I think when you go to buy something, there's 2 different mindsets. Like my mindset is I'm looking for quality and uniqueness, where like some people are like, they just totally look at the utility and like say, like in it's not knife related so much, but in 1989, the Navy gave me this re-enlistment bonus to sign on. I re-enlisted in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. And back then we didn't even have direct deposit. They just gave me my money, cashed it out, and I had several $1,000s in my pocket. And I remember my chief, before I went on liberty in St. Thomas, saying, "Hey, don't waste all your money. Get something to show for it." So
Very good advice.
yeah, and I thought about it. So I was a mugger's dream back then. I had about $5,000 just watered up in cash in my pocket, and I'm walking through St. Thomas. I'm like, what should I get? And I saw the Rolex store. And
1989.
1989.
Okay.
And I grew up. My mother's side of the family, they were all farmers, and anybody that knows about individual farming can tell you there's not much money in it. That farming oftentimes equates to just you're barely above the poverty level.
Really,
like
you're eating your food.
Right.
Yeah.
The corporations, when they buy the farms, they can make it more profitable. But for an individual families, it's really a struggle, especially with drought, disease of crops. There's so many factors.
Which is why subsidies are super important.
Yeah.
Not saying they're good. I don't know enough about it to say anything, but.
And then, on my father's side, they would, he was a police officer. My grandfather was a retired Navy chief. So there wasn't. I didn't come from a wealthy family. So when I saw the Rolex store, I said, man, I'm going to get me a Rolex. So I went in there and I bought it. And I don't know what happened with the rest of money that I had, and I think at the time, Rolex. I don't think I spent more than $1,600 or $1,700 for a brand new Rolex.
Wow.
Which in '89, that was about the price of it. It was I got the GMT model, which stands for Greenwich Mean Time, which is what we use for telling time on the ship, which is the time it is in Greenwich, England. It's a universal time. So when you say, this is what time it happened, if I said 1300 or 1 p.m., if I said 1 p.m. for civilian purposes, Greenwich Mean Time. Then, depending on where you are in the world, like maybe you're 6 hours behind Greenwich Mean Time. So maybe it happened, at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And so you would know, okay, this just happened. So in relation to what time it is now, this really happened right now. So everything is done in military coordination with Greenwich Mean Time. And so that was the model of the watch. So I bought the watch, and so that was 1989. So you're talking about over 30 years later, I still have the same watch.
It's awesome.
But another person would be like, as a matter of fact, I remember my first mother-in-law, bless her heart. I remember her telling me, you could have bought a Timex or a Seiko and it would have done the exact same thing as this Rolex that you spent too much money on. You're not being practical. And at the time I bought this, I was single. And I was like, you're correct. And, when I bought your daughter this engagement ring, I could have got her a cubic zirconia instead of a real diamond, and it would have done the exact same thing.
True.
Yeah, she wasn't amused by that analogy. I should have known that.
Right?
That
might have
first
been a
marriage
bad
wasn't
move.
going to work out because
Right.
that was a bad analogy. But
you know what, man? It's so funny. It's so funny because I'm going through the same thing right now. You post the bike, you post the name of the bike, you post the model,
right,
and then someone goes, "What?
Yeah,
you paid what?
You could have got a Huffy.
You could have got
or a Schwinn.
You could have got. You could have.
Sure.
You could have." And I'm like, you know what? I'm riding the goddamn monster truck.
Right.
I could have got the Yukon 2.
Sure.
For $300 less.
Right.
But it didn't have the gears and stuff.
Right.
So I've learned over time. And Beth doesn't necessarily like this.
Mm-hmm.
But I figured this out like in 92, 94 myself. I bought an AK-47 for $576.
Yeah.
And everybody around me clowned me for years.
Sure.
Because you can buy them for $300.
Right.
So I bought one for $2.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody had any of them, by the way,
Right.
who are clowning me. I had one in '94, right after the ban came up, and I started buying, and it was from Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so circuit 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Buddy of mine wants to buy an AK. He's like, "How much for that and everything?"
Price went up.
$1,200.
Yeah, sure.
So
Right.
you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that gun, that right now, is not $1,200.
No.
That is going to get you way more than $1,200.
Yeah, like I saw one of these for sale at a jewelry store, and they're going for like $7,000 or $8,000.
That's my point.
And
so sometimes when you buy the good thing,
right,
and you put your money into what you want, not necessarily what you need, you can get the money back out.
Right.
Real
and
good
not
friend of
only
mine.
is it going to last my lifetime, but I'm going to give this to my son.
Sure.
When I pass.
It'd be like a real
hey,
crazy retro
right,
watch from like, oh, dude, that was from '89.
Right. This could last.
They don't even have
100
power
years,
cars no more, man. That takes a battery. What's up? He's like, dude, you put that around the lizard's neck. Why are you putting that on the lizard's neck? It's your dad's watch. He's like, the lizard's got to wear something.
Sure.
The lizard's walking around all blinged out. His son walks dinosaurs, so we'll talk about that one day.
Yeah, he loves.
I did the same thing with the AKs, right? So I like the Gucci AKs. Okay, so point to them, Krebs, a lot of money. Definitive Arms, a lot of money.
Sure.
But you can do things with them that you can't do with other guns.
Yeah.
So I'm spending, whatever, but I spent 4 years trying to get that gun.
Right.
Imagine in 10 years what that gun's going to be worth.
Yeah.
If you spend 4 years trying to get something off somebody, in 10 years, what's it worth? Right. So yeah, man, that guy might make 10 guns a month. I don't know how many he makes a month. 50 max. It's not a high production by any means. And I would say 50 is insane to say that. I'm saying 10.
Probably.
I'm saying 10.
Really hard to get those.
I'm saying these guys are building. It's not like a regular gun. That's why I run with AKs, right? Because it's not like a regular gun. I don't want to get into craziness with this, but the efficiency of time and money and how you move things and pleasure in life and cost versus advantage and smile on face versus so like I'm in this right now talking about buying Beth a bike. She does not want me to spend that kind of money on a bike for her. And I'm going, if you do half of what I'm doing on my bike, you're going to have this to keep up with me anywhere I'm at in this. I'm riding through the... All right, we'll finish. We got a few minutes. We'll talk the bike story today. I dropped a video earlier today of me at the single track I found yesterday morning. We'll finish it on this.
Okay.
Maybe your question.
No, that's good.
We'll finish it on this. So, I'm on this like mission to become 220. Right, I'm coming from 600. So, in the last year, I'm now 295 today. So 295 today. So 295. So it's the lightest weight I've ever been. So the last 2 months during the run of 3 months, my foot just got healed. I couldn't shoot. We couldn't buy ammo. We couldn't do anything. I bought 2 pair of boots. The doctor said when the foot healed that you need to wear boots from now on.
Right.
Last thing he said, and then I had to skip my last appointment because he wasn't available. So the foot heals. I get the boots, and I discover the creek all at the same time. I start walking around the creek. The creek is fascinating. Someone in the neighborhood tells me that there's some caves. I go, caves? They go, yeah, some caves. Right. I look up online, I find the caves, but you can't find where they're at. I see pictures. You don't know where they're at. They're somewhere in this 5-mile area. I start walking. I think 3 weeks later, I found the caves. I started all the way off at Randolph Air Force Base and made it all the way to Judy's Loft. I walked past the caves once, didn't see them because I didn't go around the corner the right way because it's in the river. Find the caves. Now I'm like walking like a mile a day, like 3 days a week. And I started eating like 1 meal a day, like 2-3 months ago. I dropped like 40 pounds since I've been walking this creek. At some point, I noticed everybody's on bikes. There's a dude with one arm. No. Dude with 2 arms, 1 leg, and a prosthetic. And he's pedaling by the cave. And it's on a mountain bike on these rocks. Regular mountain bike. And he can barely make it. Barely. But he makes it.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, how did this guy get back here?
Sure.
So now I know the rocks are kind of crazy for a regular mountain bike. And it looks like a moonscape. You step on this, sometimes you're in like you've seen it, it's bedrock. Sometimes it's just like flat rock, bumps and stuff. So I go, man. 2 years ago, I'm talking to Beth about buying a tricycle. Because I can't ride no bike. I'm 450.
Right.
Ain't happening. I started thinking about the dude on the bike, and I'm like, man, I get a bike back here. I'm a quarter mile from here. I get a bike that I can ride back there, go down, and maybe I can walk. I love walking here. Maybe I can take the dog on a bike. Maybe I can get stable enough on a bike to take the dog.
Yeah.
What kind of bike is super stable? They got these badass bike called fat bikes. I start looking at fat bikes. I go from a fat bike, I'm talking about every day, I'm talking to you about fat bikes, I'm posting fat bikes on Facebook, and then I go to a store and I ride a beach cruiser, not a beach cruiser, a mountain bike, and I fly. Right. I'm on a giant Fathom 2, and I'm doing like Mach 60 through the parking lot, and I'm freaking out, it's so fast. And I actually pulled a wheelie on accident, and I'm like, whoa, this thing's crazy. Yeah. So then I started talking to people, and no one tells me to get a fat bike. Nobody. Right. Not one dude at 7 bike shops told me to get a fat bike. None of them. But I keep looking at it, and it looks sick. Sure. And I'm like, man, if this bike's slow, that just means I go slow. Right. What if I just play on this bike, and I don't take it serious, and I don't say I'm going to ride no miles? I'm not going miles. How about I go for 10 minutes? Then I start talking to you about the concept of playing like a kid on this bike. Right. Remember, like a month ago, I told you I'm going to get this bike. And I just want to go grab it and ride 10 minutes and put it inside like you're a kid. Dump it, get back in, get out, ride it. So that's what I've been doing. The bike keeps going flat. Pisses me off. I take it to the store finally yesterday. He puts all the air in the world in. I say, give me 25 and 23. I get 23 in the front. I bought all kinds of shit. And I'm deep in Prescott valves. And I'm deep in like pumps. And my old BMX pump, or BMX, my old motorbox cross pump doesn't work that I had for my quad because whatever. And I got to buy this and I got to buy that. And I bounced my checking account and it cost me an extra $30 because I didn't realize shit was going through and I didn't have the money I thought and whatever. I'm getting shit and I put a helmet on and it sort of don't fit at all the stores, and then I just buy one online hoping it fits, and it don't, and now I'm in the helmet game, and I'm like, oh my God. So finally, I can't get no helmet. I got like a size whatever, big head. Mm. Finally, I go to Giro website for a helmet. Takes 3 weeks to get them to ship it. Right. Big X helmet, universal, adult XL universal. Right. Scope it all out. It's still tight, but it's on. I got a helmet. Okay, no helmet this morning. No helmet yet. Right. Yesterday morning, I find a goddamn single track with moose. It's exciting, like you don't know exciting. It's 9 in the morning. The single track is like this wide. I didn't know what a single track was till last week. It's a single track. You can't go down it twice. 2 people would die. There's no room on there for 2 people. One of them, you both reckon. Yeah. It's a single track. Right. Literally. There's no like direction, by the way. Mm-hmm. You'd think there would be. There's not. There's not. Right. There's blind areas all the time. Dude, I look up, I go, okay, this thing goes up like 8 feet, and then it crests, and I'm like, is somebody supposed to ride their bike up that? Mm-hmm. Like, what the fuck? It's like, sure. What? So I take the dog, barely get up this thing. It's right up 8 feet, and I look over, and it's like a 50-foot drop.
Wow.
And I go, holy shit.
Right.
Some dude in one of the bike stops, one of the 10 bike stops, when I told him where I was walking and wanted the ride, he goes, oh, there's a gnarly single track over there.
Nice.
This is like all the stuff you hear, right? I hear about the caves. I hear about all the kids dying. I find the caves. I find the underwater caves that the kids die in when the water leaves. Mm-hmm. I find all this shit. Yeah. I don't remember too much about a single track. It don't mean nothing to me. I haven't got... it's not in the head yet. I walk by it. I see it yesterday. I walk up the thing. It goes down like 50 feet. I'm like, oh my God, I found the single track. Now I got to do a cross-reference. Where is this compared to my house? Mm-hmm. Where is this compared to everything else? Right. Where is this compared to... Where am I? Mm-hmm. Now I got to find out, where am I? Go to Google Maps. Find out where it is, kind of. I sort of know the hole on the disc golf course you got to kind of get into to get to it. I go there this morning. First time I take the bike out past the school. Mm-hmm. So past a mile. Not even a mile. I take the bike out. Got brand new tires, brand new fill. I'm expecting everything to go perfect. I am a mile away from my house if it goes bad. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a long walk. Sure. Best at work. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a long walk if it doesn't go right. No one's getting a fat bike in their car. Right. It's not happening. I look at the entrance. It's like pretty flat. Mm-hmm. It's steep. I go, hey, you're either doing this or you're not. I ain't got no helmet. I told myself to walk it in. I go, fuck it. I go right down. Bob down. Okay, brakes work. I'm like, sick. Cool. Yeah. Not scary. Right. Scary, but not. Start riding my bike to where I think this track's going to be from where I find it yesterday. I find it even quicker now because I'm looking for it. It's longer. Now I'm going through like a meadow in between the trees. It's beautiful. It's crispy. It's cool. It's 10 a.m. I just got out of the sun. I'm sweating balls from getting to there. Now I'm in the cool. It's like 10 a.m. I'm riding down this night. Kermit the Frog, bro. Nice. Going over a little. Loving it. Mm-hmm. Fully inflated bike. As maximum bounce as I can get. I'm eating up everything. Right. It's a little bit muddy. It's perfectly flat. Somebody's manicured this, or they've been riding it so long, it's sick. Okay. I find where I was the day before. I avoid that. I'm not going on that. I already almost got sucked into a rut going down the little Kermit the Frog thing. Right. I had to get off the bike once and realize what I was doing and be like, okay, you get sucked into this. Take a right. I'm all in the middle of this thing now. I don't even know what it is, dude. This is a pretty elaborate deal, this single track. It goes all over the place. I'm in between. I'm going down the straight Kermit the Frog line, and I look to the left and right of me, and that's where I took the bike and stopped it and took the picture. And there's a downhill here, and there's a downhill here, and they're both dropping off into this, not the abyss that is 60 feet that way that I saw yesterday. Right. But I know that's over there. Mm-hmm. So this goes in over a hill into the abyss. I never got up the second hill. I'm just looking at this downhill, going, there's no way. And that's what we were talking about when you first got here. So Saad's like, the first video, I'm like, you see me do that? He's like, yeah. I go, I saw the first video when you said there's no way you're going to do it. And I go, that camera fucks you up because I wasn't going to do it until I set it up again and hit live. And I'm like, well, fuck it, man. I'm either talking about it or doing it. And I know I did this as a kid. This one's smooth. This one's a little steeper and rutted out. Slide in. Dude, I'm so excited. I'm not even like able to yell until I'm stopped.
Right.
That's how excited I was. I'm not like yelling in like a roller coaster. I'm not excited. That's how scared I am.
Sure.
And I'm coming up on this other one that if I just let off the brakes and didn't even touch the brakes, I would have made it right up over, right the fuck over into the abyss. And I never even wanted to see that. I just wanted the balls to get. I'm not even sure if I can walk the bike up what I did. Run it up, let out a hoot.
I think that's a great.
I got my helmet.
Sure.
Dude, you are for sure gonna see me at 220 within the next 2 years.
That's awesome.
And I'll be rolling with you. We'll get back to whenever that comes, it comes. I'm gonna be super patient and keep busy walking and riding.
And I think like what you're on, and I think, you know, like for any of our viewers that are serious about like weight loss and conditioning, like find an exercise. You know, like you can see how passionately Stomp described his mountain biking, going down the trails, and his hiking, going down the trails, finding the caves. As you know, that's, and like for me, it's, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's what burns my calories to keep me, you know, in shape instead of, you know, gaining a lot of weight. And I think if you want to lose weight, like, don't get caught into a rut of like, oh, I'm gonna run on a treadmill, you know, for, you know, 30 minutes a day or an hour a day or whatever. Especially if you don't like running on a treadmill, because that's not going to be that interesting. Find something that's interesting. You know, like, could you imagine you telling me the same story except you ran on a treadmill today? Be like, okay, we're done in about 5 seconds. Oh, you ran on a treadmill today. That's not very interesting.
Yeah.
Unless you just really
some people like to rush. Right. If you're a runner, that's it.
But, you know, like, whether you do basketball, whether you do volleyball, jogging,
I think
cycling,
the common denominator,
biking.
I think the common denominator, what you're saying is fun.
Right. Make
fun.
exercise fun.
Have fun. Mm-hmm. If that's exercising, like I watched this lady next door, Moose is going crazy trying to kill her 4 times a day with her old 20-year-old dog.
Sure.
She's 90. What's he trying to kill her for 4 times a day? She's gardening.
Right.
4 times a day.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's not once.
So she's getting exercise.
That's what
she
she's.
loves
That's
it.
her. That's how she's 90.
Right. Yeah.
That's her fun.
Sure.
She can't leave the house.
Right.
Her son brings her the groceries. I offered to get the groceries months ago. She goes, no, I'm good. She hasn't left the house in months.
Right.
And the dog is constantly trying to kill her.
Yeah.
And she's just, she's like, hey, how are you?
Right.
How's Beth? I'm like, good. How are you?
Yeah, you
so
gotta find something.
Have fun.
Right.
Have fun, whatever that is. And I'm a guy that switches hobbies. Beth's always yelling at me, right? I'm going from one to the next and spending the money and selling stuff and whatever, you know what I mean? But I'm not drinking. I'm embracing the suck.
Right.
Like, especially with the walking. There is nothing that I've probably done harder on my feet since my surgeries, 90, 89, 90, than what I've done the last 2 months in that.
Right.
So what made me go back every day was this discovery. Where is this trail going?
Right.
So it's not that I'm going for the exercise ever. I know the exercise is a side product of the diet. If I have a strict diet, and it's easier to exercise if I'm dieting well. It's easier to be good on yourself to stack wins when you get like a solid diet, right? And my diet's pretty solid. So when we're doing fun stuff, it's not really like it's exercise. It's like when I go to work, it's not really work. I know that I'm getting probably more out of the kids, probably more out of staff than what I'm giving that day. And if I did give it that day, they needed it, and they paid me for it. And I'm here to do the job that most people can't do.
Right.
So make work, make fitness, make you a priority.
Right.
But to do that, incorporate fun. Man, you got to be smiling. If you're doing anything, man, if you're 800 pounds right now and you're on yourself about being 800 pounds, you know what the fuck? You're going to go eat.
Right.
If you're 800 pounds right now and you go walk around the house twice and you didn't do that yesterday, or you're 800 pounds right now and you knew you needed to bring the trash in and you said, I'm going to fucking bring the trash in instead of my wife doing it, make things a game.
Yeah,
you cannot be 800 pounds next year. You can be 600 next year.
Sure.
You can be 550. I can be 220. It's a matter of what I want to do.
Right.
So if I'm making me a priority, if I'm loving me, and I'm making fun in my life, working out, eating to a degree is becoming a game for me. How long can I go without eating? Is this necessary? Okay, I just had 5 wings instead of 2 pounds of meat. Do I really need to eat again? Because if I don't have my 4 hours before I sleep of not eating, then I know my hormones are off when I'm sleeping. So should I eat? Can I go with 7 wings today and that's all I'm eating? Or 12, whatever I had last night, I think it's 12 wings. Can I have 12 wings today and that's it? Well, yeah, you can.
Yeah, sure.
Of course you can. My buddy Isaac in Africa didn't have 12 wings today.
Right.
No fucking way he had 12 wings today. So, of course you can.
Right.
So, when I start stacking those days, I can do whatever I want food now. I can go, not go. If it's important to me.
Yeah.
If it's important to me. So I gotta make everything a win, man. We gotta stack the wins.
Yeah. If it's important to you and you can mix and make it enjoyable, then it's not exercise and it's just, you're out sightseeing, hiking. It's not. Of course, you're burning a bunch of calories.
Don't be intimidated by change.
Yeah.
Do not be intimidated by change.
Like my business is I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So really, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has always been a hobby of mine. It's my passion. I love doing it. So although technically it's my business and I'm going to work, I'm not going to work because I'm just doing what I love. So like to me, I haven't worked since I retired from the Navy. It's
and it becomes your life, man.
Right.
The UFC comes on, you got 40 people at your house.
Sure.
I mean, could you really imagine what would happen if like everything really broke down in society right now? What's Saad is going to have, however many students you got would be on the horn immediately. Everyone might even meet up at class time if they didn't know what else to do that day. Where would I be if I had no phone, nothing to do? Maybe we all would just go here at 7.
Yeah.
Because that's what we normally do.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's that much of a life-changing place, man. And I was trying to explain to everybody yesterday how lucky I was to not just meet you. But be friends with you before I trained. Because I have I go into class, I'm like, hey, Saad, what's up? Everyone's professor this, professor that. I'm like, what's up, Saad? I'm like, what do I even call you here? Can I call you Saad? What do you, teacher? So me and you are past like the pleasantries, and you're with everybody. It's just a matter of getting in and being comfortable, right? But don't be intimidated by the fun. So what I'm trying to say is, before we end this is over soon. Don't be intimidated by the fun. Don't be intimidated by the class. Don't be intimidated by the money. Don't be intimidated by the time. Don't be intimidated by it. Make the time.
Right.
Make the money to do what you need to do. If $100, if $200 a month is your average jiu-jitsu class, Saad's is 120 or 110. 200 is the average. 220 is the average. If 200's a month is your average, do it.
Right.
You need to.
Sure.
And if your wife don't understand, make her understand. Yeah. You need to.
Honestly, how much is too much to spend on your good health? Like, old friend of mine told me that one time because I was worried about buying some health product. I'm like, I don't want to become a kitchen ornament. And he's like, Saad, how much is too much to spend on your good health? So whatever your mountain bike costs you, whatever, whether it's jiu-jitsu or membership at, Gold's Gym, whatever the cost. Like, how much is too much for your good health?
Or your good mind. What if it's 10% at church? Yeah. You want to give your tithe and you don't want someone to give you a hard time for it, or you want to go every day. Do you, man. That's the most important thing. Love you. Right. Everything else comes into line, man. You're going to hear me say that every time, no matter what. When you love you the most, and I know that sounds selfish. You got kids, you got a wife, you're not supposed to say that. But that's not true.
Sure.
When you love you the most, you're watching your diet. You're in shape. You're mentally fit. You're the one saying what you need to say when you need to say it. If shit's not going right, you're taking care of it. You're not backing down to nothing. You're loving you. Yeah. We're not intimidated by life. Shit happens. Right? I'm going to do better. We're never going to be perfect.
Right.
But we can always strive to be better.
Absolutely.
All right, let's leave it on that. Stomp strong. I'm Stomp.
I'm Saad.
We will bring it again next week. We had a blast. Any questions or anything you guys want us to talk about, We typically do not come planned for this at all. I mean, we didn't know what we were talking about today. There was no necessary. I did want to mention the bike and going down the hill, and
Heck yeah.
that is on YouTube. I don't know how to edit, so whatever. It is what it is.
Sure.
And that's why we do this presentation without any cuts or anything, and we just do it and put it out. And I actually discovered we can do this live from home, from the computer. So if we set up a computer, so if we ever want to actually do it with questions, if we get big, maybe.
Sure.
Maybe people want to do it live. All right, have a good day. Stomp strong. Oh yeah, by the way, just real quick. Ricky Idlet, everything you see on the table except this one, this is my personal one I'm keeping, is available. He's the head engineer on the world's largest steamboat. Give me a message if you ever want to talk about knives, and especially weight loss, alcoholism. I'm easily found on Facebook Messenger. Feel free.
Nice.